Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Purple People Podcast. This is episode number 204 of the show, titled Shoulder the Loadholt. And I've got some interesting guests here with me. One you might not recognize, one's a familiar face. With me, as always, I have Kyle Smith.
Hello, everybody.
And you may not recognize him, but you also might know him from his exploits on Twitter, his regular commenting on our Facebook page. It's Tommy Gunn.
Aloha, everyone.
And of course, as always, we are here to talk Minnesota Vikings football. We've got lots of quick hits this week. Sadly, we don't have Mr. Kyle West here to join us, but we'll do our best without him, and we wish him the best in whatever he's got going on. Hopefully, whatever it is, he's having fun.
I know you guys are missing him. He'll be back soon. Don't worry.
Absolutely. So let's start going down the list. It was reported today that Jeff Locke will not face competition for the punter job this season. A lot of people really concerned about that because they didn't like the way Jeff Locke was both punting or holding last year. What are you guys' opinions on that?
I think competition at any position is good. I think we should at least attempt to bring someone in. I feel the same way for Blair, even though I would never, right at this moment in time, I wouldn't trade Blair Walsh away at all or cut him or anything like that. I still think competition is healthy, so it'll bring out the best in anybody. It'll motivate them to want to keep their job.
I haven't seen any stats on how bringing in competition improves or hurts kickers at all, but from what I heard on these reports is that both I think it was UND, and the other punter, they're still invited to Vikings camp, but they aren't, and they haven't signed anywhere else. So right now, we've only been through the first OTA, so I think they will be back, and this will actually stretch a lot longer, but they just haven't, signed anyone to the official 90-man roster. So I think we haven't seen the end of it. That's just my opinion on that.
Honestly, with kickers, I think they need that little bit of extra time. I think that confidence is too big of a thing for kickers and punters. And when someone has an off season or a couple of off games, because let's be honest, Jeff Locke had a couple of really solid games. For a while, he was holding very well for Blair Walsh. And a lot of these problems seem to be current, especially as an overreaction to the big Blair Walsh miss in the playoffs. So, is it an overreaction? Is it bringing in competition? Is it relying too much on a guy that you used a draft pick on? There's no really way to answer these questions right now, but Jeff Locke will have another shot, it appears, and hopefully he'll make the best of this one.
I had a rant for that, but we're going to save it because we have a lot of quick hits.
We do. This one's about Instagram. You guys like Instagram? You guys on there?
I don't like what you're about to talk about, but yes, I'm on there.
So, Minnesota Vikings first-round draft pick, Laquan Treadwell, took to Instagram, and he put up a photograph telling people not to criticize him about it, but it was him sitting in a vehicle, I believe, and he had on a Oakland Raiders hat. Now, if you're looking at this objectively, you've got to understand that players drafted to teams, they probably likely aren't fans of the teams that they got drafted by. That very rarely happens. And also, let's not discount the fact that the Oakland Raiders are kind of one of those teams that has that subculture hit. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings are a popular team. They've got a lot of fans. But this recent success in movies like Straight Outta Compton and stuff like that are bringing that Oakland Raiders vibe back. So, I don't know. To me, I don't mind that he was wearing a Raiders hat. I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather he was wearing a Minnesota Vikings hat, but I guess what can you do? What do you guys feel about this?
If I had a computer, I'd be Googling to see where Laquan Treadwell actually grew up. Because, if you're from California, you have your choice of three teams. You have the Chargers, meh. You have the 49ers, who were good in the 80s. But then you have this storied history of the Oakland Raiders. They were actually the first team in the NFL for their away jerseys not to have any white on them. They had silver instead. So it was like, this is a storied franchise. Just as storied as the Minnesota Vikings, in fact. I mean, albeit with a few more Super Bowl victories. But, so if you're from there, I can understand it. But just got to go Chris Carter. Come on, man. You're playing for the
Laquan Treadwell,
Vikings.
born and raised in the suburb of Chicago, Illinois.
Crete,
Okay,
Illinois.
no excuse. No excuse whatsoever.
All right, I've got to
Fine him.
say, I find him. That's perfect. I've got to say, I don't care about what he wears as long as he scores touchdowns for us. But it's people are gonna get really upset about this. They're gonna say, "Oh, you don't have any pride in your team." Blah blah blah. It's just like when Colin Kaepernick wore, I think it was a Dolphins hat.
Yep.
Who cares?
Oh, jeez.
He helped you get to the Super Bowl, for God's sake. Just let him wear whatever the hell he wants. As long as he shows up on Sunday. Now, I'm gonna be totally biased here. I'm gonna piss some people off. So that's what I'm here for. So if Cordero Patterson was wearing a Raiders hat, I'd be like, cool, take your ass to Oakland. No, I don't care. But hey, he's a new kid. He's gonna get some flack for it. I'm sure he probably got a talking to from some people like, hey, look, bro, you can't do that. And I think the funniest part of it all, he's like, hey, man, don't get mad, but probably going to make people more mad than if you just casually posted it. But I get it. I get both sides. maybe purple would look better and wouldn't have caused all this drama in the first place. Just something to think
The funniest
about.
part of the whole thing was Instagram. People were just mad. Twitter, people were just firing at him just viciously. Facebook, people don't care.
Keyboard warriors, unite.
Oh,
It's
yes.
that verified account there on Facebook, and people are like, no, I'm not putting my name to that.
I actually think the real person to blame for all this is Rick Spielman. Because, Matt Khalil had that incident with the guy flipping his hat, and now we've got Laquan Treadwell with the hat issue. We are just drafting people who have issues with hats. So, come on,
Hats are
Rick,
the
you got to
problem.
step up your game.
It's all about hats. See, people had nice hair like Charles Johnson. We wouldn't see as many hats.
Man,
He's got some good hair.
We should start a stat for that. We should see how many people with good to average hair and see what their character's like now. That's a whole thing we can look at. Where are the scouts on this?
Yeah, where are the stats on this? I looked on Pro Football Focus. I couldn't find anything. Moving on, though. ESPN did this pretty cool article where they did 100 predictions for the upcoming NFL season.
Cool idea.
And they had each of their team's reporters talk about their team. Ben Gosling was the man in charge for the Vikings, and he did 3 predictions. He predicted that Harrison Smith was going to get a big deal. He predicted that Adrian Peterson was going to be more involved in the passing game. And he predicted that this was going to be a big year for Treadwell, and he was going to take a lot of pressure off Teddy Bridgewater. I think that all of those are actually pretty safe bets.
It's a pretty safe article. I hope AP's not as involved in the passing game. I would rather have Jarek McKinnon doing that, but that's just my opinion. But if he does, cool.
But here's the issue. See, Adrian Peterson has incentive-based contracts, and the harder he works to stay on the field on third downs, the more money he can make.
That's a pretty good point.
It's a solid point. That's why you.
So he's working harder in the offseason. He's working on his passing game, working on his pass blocking. Is he doing so to get a Super Bowl ring? Yeah, probably. Is the money a little bit of a motivator? Probably.
The other thing which would make me nervous about this is the amount of money that Harrison Smith has. Because even the Seahawks, they're dealing with issues with money, too much cap room, or not enough cap room for stuff like that. And I can't remember how long ago I saw an article, but there's like no middle class of players in the NFL. There's either like rookie, minimal deals, or there's top of the league. And I mean, there are a few in the middle, but it's just like the top guys are taking so much cap room that you really don't have any room in there. So, that's kind of my worry about it. It's like, well, who are you going to cut if, Harrison Smith, who well deserves to be paid like a top 5 safety in the league, but like, what is that going to do to the team? Who do we cut? Come down to him and Anthony Barr? Who do you pick? him, Laquan Treadwell. At what point do you make these cuts? And I'm thinking 4 years down the line, but it still makes me nervous because I'm one of those people who, even though it's kind of cheating, I like how it's kind of underhanded, not really cheating, but how the NBA, they'll have like 2 or 3 guys from different teams just go to one team, and then they'll make a run. And I know it's like underhanded, but they'll all take like a lower contract to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in the NBA, you can trade people for money, too.
Yeah, that's weird. I've never understood that one. But, hey, they've got like a 3-round draft, and I'm like, where do the rest of the players go?
But your point is very valid. The Vikings have a young roster. A lot of those guys are going to have their contracts coming up and need big extensions, especially with some of the guys that they've got. And Teddy Bridgewater, quarterbacks are going to make money. And even if Teddy Bridgewater doesn't come out and be Aaron Rodgers and earn this, insane deal, they're going to be paying him quite a bit of money just because he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Barr is going to earn a big contract. These are guys that are all going to need money, and it's all got to come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you just look at the roster we have, and there are so many young guys. Like, who's the oldest wide receiver on the roster? Charles Johnson.
Oh, it's Charles Johnson. Okay.
Yeah, 27 years old. Jarius Wright is 26. Adam Thielen is 25.
Ooh.
I mean, these guys are a lot older than what we think. Because we still see Adam Thielen as the undrafted free agent.
We do.
Scrapping his way onto the roster. I mean, even at that age, if you were to hold on to both Adam Thielen and Jarius Wright, I don't see much of a future for Charles Johnson unless he steps it up big this year. But they're going to have like veteran minimum salaries, which are still going to be quite up there. Some of them I think for skill positions are like $1.3 million a year kind of contracts, and that adds up on there. So
I'm actually to see Charles Johnson this year after that rib injury, see how he can come back.
You stole the thoughts right out of my head. I was going to say that the wide receivers are where I'm thinking some of the money's going to leave because, granted, if AP does what AP does for another 2 or 3 years, he's still going to be the basis of the offense. Teddy's going to be on a rookie contract for at least another 2 years, so you got to think, where's that money going to come out? But back to Harrison Smith real quick. I thought about it while we were talking. You want to think that he loves Minnesota so much and that he loves what Mike Zimmer does.
Oh, the hometown discount, come on.
But you gotta say it. You gotta say it. Money talks, man. Why would I stay here? Especially, the league changes every single year. He could go over to somewhere, with a team that's on the rise too. Like, what if he went to another good defense like Jacksonville or something that's on the rise? If they're going to pay him a ton of money.
Caliber.
So, what happens if they throw a bunch of money at him? Is he going to say, man, I love this team, I'm going to stick with what they believe in? Or is like, man, I'm going to go get paid? Because, like Tommy was saying, a lot of these guys in the NBA, they'll go take a little bit extra money because they know they're going to be in the finals the next year if they join 2 other guys, like hands down, especially in the Eastern Conference. But we're not going to talk about the NBA. So, yeah, I said that. All right. But you got to think, you can't just do that in the NFL. You can be a star on a really crappy team, which happens a lot, actually. So I really hope they figure that out.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, sorry, like 3 years ago, he was on a really bad Cardinals team.
Hey, yeah, John Skilton was a quarterback. He threw footballs. Same with Max. What the hell was his last name? Max something.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
The Cardinals quarterbacks a couple years ago.
Oh, when they
had the big
2 years ago.
Scrubs.
Yeah, Carson Palmer went down, and they just.
Oh, they had the kid from Virginia. I remember his name. Yeah. He was like a 4th string. I remember he played for the University of Virginia because I saw him locally. But yeah, he was not good. They took him out in the middle of the game.
Let's hope we never see anything like that at any position for the Vikings. I mean, Minnesota had to sign some corners off the street, but I don't think it's ever gotten that bad at quarterback. Well, I suppose we signed Josh Freeman and he started, so I can't say anything.
Find those cover 2 corners at 7-Eleven. My favorite quote of all time.
It's just the way it goes. So we do have a transaction. The Vikings had to waive injured defensive tackle B.J. DeBose and signed former Bears defensive tackle Bruce Gaston, which If you are a fan of Disney movies, I'm sure you've seen all the memes around about that.
That was totally my comment on the Viking Age. No one fights like a star, no one bites like a star. Oh, totally, 100%. That was where I was at.
Definitely
I
good
love it.
stuff. But honestly, other than the funny name, I don't know a lot about this gentleman.
Not a thing. I just saw your update from your article, and I was like, well, there's that guy.
I just saw how much he bounced around the league. He's been on 4 teams, Arizona, Miami, and Green Bay, since 2014. And I think Patriots? I can't remember exactly. He's been on the practice squad of all of them. Actually seen the active roster for Green Bay, Miami, and Arizona. So, I mean, he has experience, but it's kind of a loaded position. I mean, until, I hate to say it, love the guy Tom Johnson or someone leaves. I mean, it's really not much of a open competition in the rotation. And hopefully he doesn't have to play. That's my hope, is because that would mean injuries. Or, we clinch first seed in week 12. That'd be great.
Oh.
And then
That
we
would
just
be
like
nice.
slough off the rest of the season. So,
But yeah, you're right. I mean, the talent on the Vikings on the defensive line is just insane. And to bring in a guy who's been struggling around the league, you can't really expect him to come in and make a lot of noise. I hope he does. I hope he comes in and competes for a starting gig. That'd be fantastic. But even
I
if he
hope
doesn't,
every guy we have turns out to be John Randall, the next John Randall. I mean,
you never know.
every undrafted guy.
So Minnesota Vikings offensive tackle Phil Loadholt says he's feeling 100% better. We'll save all the discussion about this until our main topic when we're going to be talking about the offensive line. So we'll just keep on moving along here a little bit. Minnesota Vikings owner Lenny Wilf, I don't know if you're aware of that, Wilf, but there are lots of Wilfs out there that have a hand in this Minnesota Vikings organization. I always struggle, is it Wilfs or Wilves?
Wilf. I read it like wolf, you know? But
Yeah,
if
but
you
you
say
have
Wilves,
to pluralize it to VES. The Wilves?
I think it's kind of like the name Mary or, Tommy. You wouldn't do, if there are 2 Tommies, you wouldn't do Tommies. You just do Tommy apostrophe S. So
Yeah, that's always been my running
feeling it wouldn't change.
Nobody ever liked it anyway, so I stopped doing it, but I figured I'd give it one more try. But anyway, he is lending some money, well, not lending, donating, I guess, for an event for veterans and their families. What it is it's an experience to where they show war through a soldier's eyes. And they're going to have a group come in from Minneapolis, a male vocal choir that's familiar with wartime activities, and they're going to have them perform. It's going to be a pretty cool event, and Lenny Wilf's money goes towards that event, providing tickets, bringing in that vocal group. So it's cool to see him supporting events like that. And it's not even his first time doing things like that. He's done several of these kind of events, and the Wilf family always seems to know some of the right buttons to hit. Not only is it things that are important to them, but it's things that are important to the community, and they seem to be rather timely. So really cool move by Lenny Wilf. Happy to see it.
that's really cool. I hadn't heard anything about this. I was staring so deeply into the computer just now. I was like, really? That's cool. I like that.
On the VikingAge.com.
I missed that. I must have actually been working for a minute or two and didn't see that. So. I know, boo for that, right?
Whoa! What does the military pay you for? Work? No. You need to fill out paperwork and watch this PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint. Yes.
So we were talking about injuries with Phil Loadholt a little earlier, but there's another guy that isn't practicing isn't being a full participant in OTAs, and that is Sharif Floyd. Is there some kind of concern that we should have that he isn't participating, or at this point it might just be precautionary? The jury's still out, but at this point, Sharif Floyd needs to be healthy because he is an essential part of this defense. I know the Vikings have a lot of depth there on the defensive line. They can plug in some guys to do the job, but Sharif Floyd, man, when he is healthy and he is in there, he can be a difference maker.
He's one of the underrated guys. Like, I know that we have Linval. He's my favorite lineman on the defense, of course. But when you have Sharif in there with him, man, they just do pretty amazing things. I hated to see that, but I saw that on NFL.com recently. They were talking about the most talented rosters in the NFL, and the Vikings were on there at number 5, and it had him and Teddy as the rising stars. And I honestly believe, because of his injuries, why he was a riser and not an elite talent. Because we had a couple of guys that were the elite status of the team, and I think what we're talking about now is probably the reason that held him back. But like you said, when he's in there, he's definitely makes his presence known. So I don't know. I hope this is a precautionary thing and just let him get healthy. Let him, because he's not a rookie anymore. He's had a couple of seasons with us, so I think he knows what to do. I hope this is hey, let's wait till he's 100% so he doesn't re-injure himself, because God forbid that happen right when we're about to start the season.
Well, he's already locked up because they picked up his 5th year. The only thing is, I hope he can become more like Xavier Rhodes, because we all remember Xavier Rhodes had issues with being banged up for the first few years. And I mean, it wasn't like anything serious. It wasn't like some of the Harrison Smith stuff, like turf toe. There's nothing you can do about that. You just can't run with it. That was kind of fluky, but like, you just kind of get banged up on plays. And Sharif Floyd has that still. So I think this is both precautionary and cautionary at the same time. They're like, what's going on?
Since you bring it up, could they call that injury something worse than turf toe? I mean, that sounds like nothing. It's like, oh, I've just got a little turf toe.
My other foot, hangnail. It's wicked. Don't even ask.
Nothing I can do about it, man. Cut it off.
Cut it off at the knee. Let's go.
All right, so here is your horse racing update of the day. Bunch of players and, well, not really players, but a bunch of individuals from the Minnesota Vikings organization, along with Toronto Marlies goalie Alex Stalock of the American Hockey League, which I didn't know was a thing, but is. Voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen. They went in together and bought a horse named Tiger D at Canterbury Park in Shakopee, Minnesota. Now, that's Scott Turner and Norv Turner, as well as Brandon Fusco, trainer Eric Sugarman. So, quite a few guys in on this horse, and I heard it ran its first race. I didn't see the results, but hopefully for them it's a winner.
With Eric Sugarman being there, did the horse tear its pec or no?
Oh.
Well, the rehab's going to be pretty awesome. He'll come back, run for 2,000 yards.
I had to say it. I mean, that is just absolutely nuts. I read about this, though. I read this the other day, and I laughed pretty loud. I was like, I wasn't laughing at what they did. I wonder how the idea came up. I was like, hey, guys, let's pitch in and buy a horse. Wonder how that conversation started,
I guess Paul Allen.
No, it's a good idea.
About it, and from there it just kept rolling.
Paul Allen says you got to do something, especially if he gives you his announcer voice. You're going to do it. So I could see that happening.
Well, Paul Allen did get his start as a racetrack official. That's where you get, his things like, and he runs for the first down, not key turn of speed, or he's loose, stuff like that.
Now that you mention it, I hear it.
That comes from, I think he was an announcer for 5-6 years before he was ever a Vikings play-by-play guy.
Look at Tommy Gunn just rolling in here like a veteran on this show.
I know, knowing this stuff. You're supposed to be not knowledgeable like us. Just throw stuff around.
I listen to everything. I go to all the Vikings blogs and listen to all the Viking podcasts I can and just try to pick it up because that's actually how I learn best. I never realized it in school, but I was that guy who would listen to a lecture, then ace the test.
There you
Never
go.
did the homework, but so audiobooks, lectures, stuff like that. I really pick things up, and so
kids, don't
trivia
do
stuff
homework.
like that.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, you could be in the military like me and Smith.
Yes. Great example.
So USA Today did a ranking of all the head coaches in the NFL. Number 4 was Minnesota Vikings head coach. Number 4.
Yes. And do list who we're ahead of him. I think it's pretty good company.
I would list it if I had it in front of me, but I don't.
Okay, let me see if I can do it. It's Belichick, Pete Carroll, and Bruce Arians, I believe.
Sounds right to
1,
me.
2, and 3. So that be number 4 on there, I think that's pretty exciting. Because I think actually what Zimmer does even best, there are 2 ways to run a play in football, is to run multiple plays from one formation or to run a single play from multiple formation. And I think he's one of the best at doing both at the same time and being able to check out and check into different plays. And I think it's he's brilliant.
I know watching the Cincinnati stuff, just doing homework once he came in, I know he disguises a lot. But, Tommy, you can attest to it since you were in, especially for us, military stuff, the thing that I've learned in the last, 8.5, 9 years is the best times that I wanted to come to work was when somebody made me want to work for them. And I see that 110% in this team. And everything that Zimmer does, they want to succeed because they want to make him happy. And it's not necessarily they were pressured into it, but it's just they believe in what he says. Hell, I believe in what he says, and I've never touched a football field in my life, minus a couple of dog searches here and there. So I love the fact that he can get in, connect with them, and he's a no BS dude. Plus, if you ask any of the coaches and any of the other players, and everybody said it when we hired him, I don't know why this dude hasn't had a job, way sooner. But that's really cool, man, especially to be up there with Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. I love it.
I love Zimmer as much as the next guy. There are plenty of reasons to love him. He's got a great attitude, fantastic defensive mind. But there is one major gripe about him that nobody can really argue. When it comes to offense, he's pretty much hands-off.
Yep.
Well, I think that's also why we brought in Sperano and Shermer this offseason to give Norv Turner that help. Because, I think it might be a little bit of a misnomer to say that Zimmer doesn't understand offense. He's defensive coordinator. He's got to know offenses. But I think just with the coordination and the running of it. So I don't mind that dichotomy. Going back to what Kyle was saying with the wanting to come to work, I don't know if it was his first year or second year, but you remember the birthday spankings I think Terrence Newman and a few other guys gave to Mike Zimmer? It's just you look at Mike Zimmer on Hard Knocks and you're like, ooh, But then you see stuff like that and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, maybe he's just that guy who wears that T-shirt, I yell because I care.
Yes.
One of those things. So
he gets that perfect blend of respect and fun.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember that picture? That picture of him on the bus after the win at Lambeau.
Oh,
he's just got his feet up, big old smile on his face. Oh, it was so good. That was the epitome of it. Now we did it. Oh, it's my favorite.
For those of you wanting to check out US Bank Stadium, tickets are on sale on Ticketmaster.com. They have some nice big tours going around. You get to spend, I believe it's 90 minutes in the facility checking out all the cool stuff going on. If you're in the area, I'd recommend you checking out because they do multiple runs daily. I believe they take some days off on the weekends, so you might want to double check which days are available. But on Ticketmaster, you can definitely go take a look at US Bank Stadium, be on the field before the players are. There's also the opportunity, like we talked about the other weeks, where they're having the flag football tournament in there on that turf. So you can hit on in and do that too. But it's so cool that they're opening up US Bank Stadium. They're making it feel like more of a people's stadium, letting them come in, check things out, play some games in there, holding these massive concerts, soccer games, and of course Vikings football. Super Bowl coming up. So many great things. Exciting. Fun.
I can't afford that right now.
you and me both. If I lived in the area, I'd figure it out, but I don't. So flying up there and getting a rental or just hopping on the bus, good Lord. But I think the other thing, too, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, kind of lagged a little bit on my end, but the shows that they're going to have there too. You can see big name bands, and they've already got 2 or 3 lined up already that they're going to have this summer. But just seeing a concert in that place, man, I can imagine how it's going to sound. With how much glass there is, you could see the sunset and everything through it. That facility is out of this world. I cannot wait to go up there and watch a game.
You've already got your Luke Bryan tickets, right?
Oh, of course. I ran out of toilet paper, so I absolutely did. I bought a bunch of them.
I get it. It's funny.
We joke, but I know there's a lot of huge Luke Bryan fans out there, but hey, just not at least 2 of these 3 guys.
Not everybody can be Chris Stapleton, but it's fine.
The last quick hit was added by Tommy Gunn here. He said that we should talk about the Pro Bowl. Because everybody loves talking about the Pro Bowl.
Woo!
All right.
Yeah.
So they're going to move the Pro Bowl to Orlando, Florida for 2017. And guess what else they're going to do? They're going to make it back to being an AFC versus NFC game again.
I like that.
The reason this was so important to me, because during my time in the service, I was actually stationed in Hawaii from 2010 to 2014. And during 4 available Pro Bowls that were there, I was able to go to 3 of them.
Oh, that's
So it was
awesome.
like a really big deal. It was really awesome, a lot of fun. But as another person pointed out, so they're moving it from worn-out, dilapidated Aloha Stadium to worn-out, dilapidated Citrus Bowl. So I don't know what they're trying to do. But I do know that the one year, I think it was when the Super Bowl was in Miami, when they had the Pro Bowl there as well, because they were trying to have it like same city kind of deal, so everyone sticks around a little longer. Or I don't even know. But Hawaii was very upset at this. They're like, this is our thing. Keep it here. And I think, as someone else on Twitter, I think, pointed out, we're going to have even less guys or more guys opt out of going to the Pro Bowl because it's just like, Orlando. It's not Hawaii? Okay, whatever. What am I going to go to? Universal Studios?
Geno Smith's going to be the starting Pro Bowl quarterback because everybody's going to drop out.
I love the Universal Studios. They got a cool Walking Dead happening there.
Maybe it's going to
Check out
be
all
Teddy
the
again.
With that on undeadwalking.com.
Good plug. I like the fact that they went back to AFC, NFC, even though we all know it's not going to be a real game. We talked about this last year, and I'll bring it up again. I think they should have challenges, longest field goals, longest throws, stuff like that.
The skills competitions.
They need to make something.
Those are
They need to reinvigorate it because as much as we changed the game, look at a game from the 70s to now, it was so much different. Everything keeps evolving. You don't want to change it too much, but none of these guys play at 100% anyways. They don't want to get injured. They're bummed because they didn't make the Super Bowl. Whatever. Just make it fun. Make it something. And if you're gonna have sponsors there anyways. The guy who kicks a 75-yard field goal, give him a truck. I don't know. That'll make it really fun. Or shorten the goal or something, man. You have all these people with great ideas, and then they just keep this bland format. And now, like you said, they're going to Orlando. Orlando's a cool city. It's in the South. But Hawaii or Orlando? I think I'll stay at home, guys. I think I just busted my butt for 4 months. I think I'm going to sit at home and maybe drink a beer or something.
At Pro Bowl, it's not every year that Alex Mack can take a handoff and go 60 yards.
Okay.
Every player is contractually obligated to have a charity either in their name or be part of one. So, why not have a prize for longest field goal, most accurate quarterback? $50,000, $100,000 to charity of choice. I mean, took me 2 minutes to come up with that. This would also be incentive for players not to turn down the Pro Bowl.
Absolutely.
Right there. So.
And we're just a common street folk here. What's up?
It's
Great
above
idea.
my pay grade. So.
Mine would be McDonald's, and you guys can sponsor me for this great idea that we have, so I can get free burgers. Thank you.
I'll just take the fries.
All right, so let's get into our main topic. We're going to talk about the offensive line. We got some crazy news at offensive tackles because although we kind of know who they're going to be, we have no clue.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to say that Matt Khalil is going to be a left tackle, but then you're reading all these reports about Jeremiah Sarles coming in and just having these excellent sessions. And I know that he's only sitting in for Khalil at left tackle right now because Khalil's dealing with a little injury, but it's weird to talk about because Matt Khalil's making so much money, and you don't pay a guy that much money on a one-year prove-it to sit him. That's not going to happen. So
I don't know what's going to happen with
Jeremiah
Matt Khalil.
His place. I just don't get it.
This is my bold prediction for the show. I think with the addition of the Rhino, which is a cool freaking nickname, he's not even my favorite. He's not even my favorite offensive lineman that we put in. I'm ready to see what Andre Smith brings to the table. Phil Loadholt's healthy. John Sullivan's back. I think with all the improved play that we have on the right side of the line, I think it's going to help Matt out a little more so he doesn't look as shaky as he did in years past. That's just my prediction of the day. I think he'll have a good season. Plus, like you said, this is a prove-it year for him. So I think he's going to step up. It's kind of confusing for us because he's kind of been a roller coaster since he's been with us, but as long as he protects the blind side, I really don't care.
It's
Just
really
do your
weird.
job.
Players seem to step up their game in contract years. It's odd. I don't understand it.
Can't figure that one out.
I just did a quick count in my head of all the players I could think of who play offensive line, and we've got 14 offensive linemen signed currently. So I have a feeling, again, OTA's number one. So we aren't even officially into preseason, but I just feel we're probably going to see a whole bunch of mishmashes in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very early to say, but I think they're like the top 3 most expensive offensive line as of now. But a lot of these guys are on one-year prove-it deals, except for Boone, because he was kind of a sure thing. But
Yeah.
like Andre Smith, Mike Harris,
Berger got a 1 year, I believe.
Berger. There were
Which
quite
is
a
nuts
few.
because he was so good last year.
Right? I mean, he's like 32. I wish we, would have figured out what we had a couple of years ago when we first got him. But, oh well. But I mean, there's just a lot of guys who have a chance to do something. So, and it sucks. We are definitely going to be cutting at least 2, 3 players who we could say, yeah, these are good players who should be starting. At least on sub, par teams. But these guys have the capability of starting, but we just have to let them go. Because there are only so many spots. We can't have, 10 roster spots out of 50 on the offensive line. There were 53, I should say. I wasn't counting punter, kicker, or long snapper, but, so, but 20% of the active roster being held up by one position, I just not seen it. So we're going to see some heartache, and there will be tears, there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth as guys are cut, but it's just got to happen.
So getting back to left tackle a little bit, they also said that
Sorry.
Hemmings was going to be playing there as well, so you're adding even more competition to that spot. And then at right tackle, we're talking about a conversation between Phil Loadholt and Andre Smith, which should be pretty interesting.
Did you guys see the tweet from, I think it was Chris Thomason, where he was like, I know it's day one, but Daniil Hunter is destroying Phil Loadholt.
No, I
To which
didn't. That's
someone
awesome.
commented, well, to be honest, I think Daniil Hunter's going to destroy a lot of left tackles this year. So,
Well, let's be honest about Phil Loadholt here for a second, because we held off on that for a minute from the quick hits. Phil Loadholt's coming off what is a really major injury for an offensive lineman. When you think about an Achilles, you don't think of it as being as crazy as like a knee or something like that, but for an offensive lineman, an Achilles injury is huge. That's where you're pushing off with your foot to try to gain leverage. That's where you're changing direction. It's a big injury, and not only is it going to impact the way he plays for a while, it's going to be big on his confidence as well. So bringing in these guys is kind of an insurance policy for him, and maybe a big reason why he was asked to take a pay cut this season.
Mm-hmm.
Those expecting Phil Loadholt to come back and be the Phil Loadholt of old, they have some information coming for him, because it's not going to be that easy.
It's kind of sad too, you know. I loved having him. As long as we have had him, it's really sad that that had to be one of the reasons why. But I think he understands what you were saying, Adam. I think he understands that fully, especially when he's been around that long. You know, you're going to have to take a pay cut, but I'm just glad he took it. Maybe he could find a situational role. Who knows? If we can put fresh legs in there, I say go for it. Look at T.J. Clemmings. I mean, he got thrust into the position last year. He didn't do terrible. I'd rather have someone in there with a fresh set of legs that can play longer than to maybe re-aggravate what Phil had happen to him again. That would be horrible.
something also to keep in mind is everyone remembers how big Babatunde Agbayusi was last year.
Oh yeah.
6'9", I think. Phil Loadholt was 1 inch shorter than him. Phil Loadholt is a big dude, and anything having to deal with the legs is going to be huge, very hard to combat. You would think that in his rehabilitation he would have to lose weight to, rehabilitate it faster, because you can't be, 300 plus pounds and try to rehabilitate that. You're going to want to try to drop a little bit. So that might affect him. But I mean, he's just been so solid since 2010 when we drafted him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, it's going to be sad to see whoever gets cut. Like I said, hopefully he can come back and be just that road grader, because I mean, it was him and Fusco and Sullivan like paving the way for Adrian Peterson during his 2012 run. So I mean, he's not so much a pass blocker, but the more athletic guys generally do go to defense anyway, so it's kind of a toss up there. Offensive line versus defensive line, I mean. But he was stellar in the run game, and I think we sorely missed that last year. I think Adrian Peterson could have been better than he was last year if we had had Phil Loadholt.
Yeah, healthy Phil would have made a difference there, I believe, too.
Got him and Teddy. Whew.
The interior of the offensive line stepped up in a way that people couldn't really imagine either. I mean, Harris stepped into that right guard position. He played well. He earned my
Good grief, did he ever?
Many times.
Oh, yeah. He did so well.
And Joe Berger coming in for Sullivan. Sullivan has that back injury, and he's had another procedure since he had the first one. And honestly, I'm not sure about him coming back full strength either, but the Vikings have, I believe, 4 centers on the roster right now.
I expect that to drop.
Berger, Sullivan, Kieran. I forget who else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sully, Berger, Easton, Kieran. So that's a lot of centers, and I don't know if it's quantity over quality there, or they're just trying to bring in a lot of insurance, but they have interchangeable pieces in the middle there too. And that's what's nice, is that you've got a guy like Harris that can move over to either side. Even though Fusco wasn't the best at left guard, we saw he could play there. Berger can play any of the 3 in the middle. And in case Sullivan can't go, they've got Berger for a year, and they can wait on drafting, and they were able to take players that were more talented rather than reaching for players that they felt might have been a need in the draft or in free agency, spending money on spots that they were hoping they wouldn't have to fill. Honestly, this is going to be such a crazy group to watch, how this all pans out, who ends up where. It's going to be fun to watch in preseason training camp. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't read that about Daniil Hunter. I'm glad you said that. I want to go digging to find that now. That's pretty crazy. I'm not surprised, though. He's one of those late round just freaks that we just happen to get a steal from. I still can't believe he got 6 sacks last year.
Yeah, he took advantage of some people. He posterized them. He had people from other teams talking about how he had to be accounted for on defense. It's just amazing. Moving on to the social media question of the week. We asked you guys what we can do to make the show even better, what we should add, what we should change, maybe some things we should try doing a little differently. We did not get a very good response, and some people answered about what we should be doing on the Facebook page instead, but either way, it's nice to have some interaction. Tommy Gunn says that we should do some line dancing, so here you are. Dance away.
Oh, no. I'll leave it to the real hosts.
I see how it is.
Take it away.
All right.
Cop out.
John says that we should put a watermarked Purple People podcast logo behind us, and that's something I should probably look into. We've got to get our art guy on that one. Definitely. Have that on the screen, and in the live feed have some trivia questions, and that might be kind of fun, but we'd almost have to get someone else to be here during the show to do that so that we could focus on running down the list and paying attention to chat and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's something to look into in the future, but not really something I think we can do right now. But I want to do that. I love trivia. I love it.
You would be the one guy to stump everyone, too. That sounded like your kind of cup of tea right there.
John Doe still says we need more dank memes, which would be great. Everybody loves memes. Maybe we could just pop them up on the screen during the show. But,
that would be so cool.
Just slideshow the whole time.
Now, that would lose a lot of effect on iTunes and Stitcher. I mean, when people are listening on their headsets, like, check out this. Everybody's laughing. What?
Especially if we don't even know what they are, and they just, like, pop up. We'll be mid-sentence, like, yeah, so I think Teddy oh, my gosh!
World star! World star!
Exactly.
The show is complete.
No show is complete without yelling world star. And that's essentially all we got, aside from Thomas Buse saying this on the trivia question idea, which I like the idea, I do. It's just implementing it would be the hard part. As of like last week, we don't have a question rolling because we decided not to do one because we're kind of lazy a little bit. But let's put Kyle Smith on the spot and see if he can come up with a great one. Go.
Oh, I can't do it on the spot, but I will have one. As soon as we're done with the show, I will have one for you. I definitely will. I probably won't.
He says it, but we'll see it when or if it goes up on the Facebook page. We'll see. And we need our Twitter guys doing the Twitter thing again so that we can have some of the responses from Twitter. It's been a while since we've actually had the social media response on Twitter. We've just been going by Facebook. Where's my Twitter peeps?
I think we could point to Kyle for that one, but he's not here.
Kyle, how could you?
I tell ya. That's actually all I have for this week, unless you guys want to close on something else.
Did you have a bowl prediction there, Smith?
No. We can go back we can get back to the earlier part of the show because I made a statement in there. I will say we could actually use this if you wanted to, because this was kind of me putting it off. But if you wanted to do the social media question, I hate asking it on the show because I don't know if it feels like we have to, because it might be a bad question, or I might repeat one.
Sucks, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you can let me know, or Tommy can tell me if I repeated one from a month ago. So I sent in some stuff to Mike Wobschall the other day, and yeah, I mean, we could use this for one this week and one next week. I sent him 2 questions. I don't know if it'll be on Vikings.com. He did answer back pretty quickly, though. I said, rather than pick a specific player, because people get kind of caught up, like, I don't like to do the bland, like, Adrian Peterson will rush for 1,700 yards. Everybody makes predictions like that. You got to think outside the box. So what position group or what position specifically do you think we might have a surprise starter? Pretty cool, because we were talking about the offensive line today. That could be a surprise there. I picked safety. I think somebody is going to be starting opposite of Harrison Smith. That's not Andrew Sendejo, maybe. I don't know. And then also the other question was, everybody's hyped up about US Bank Stadium, right? Everyone's hyped about it.
Oh,
but
sure.
what road game are you excited about? Because we have some pretty good ones. I'm going to be at the Carolina game, and seeing as how they were pretty damn good last year, I'm pretty excited to see how we stack up because they kind of mirror each other. Although Cam is on a completely different level than Teddy Bridgewater, I think we have kind of the same team, especially defensively. So I'm really cool with that. So pick one of those if you like, gentlemen. I submitted them to Vikings.com. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Purple People podcast. And I would like to see what the fans would like with that, if you're cool with those questions.
I'll do the. I think the road game idea is a good one. You should put that one up.
I'll definitely do that. We'll start on it right now.
And I will say
Type.
what I think it is right now, because I want to see our rivals, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We haven't had any bad emails from the Jacksonville Jaguars or Twitter messages in a while. Not since I said that Denard Robinson was the best quarterback on their roster. They've improved a lot since then.
That's funny.
Oh,
God, that's funny.
it goes back.
Oh, they hated me. They hated me bad. I was surprised that someone listened to it and actually responded from Jacksonville. It's like, what are you doing listening to a Vikings podcast if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan anyway? I'm guessing like somebody had a Jaguars fan friend and said, "Here, listen to this. It's hilarious." That's what I'm hoping happened anyway.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, if there's a sneaky candidate in the AFC, it's either the Raiders or the Jaguars. Don't
They've
sleep
come
on
a long way since then. They aren't a
They've
joke.
had some really good drafts, and I hate saying it because Blake Bortles throws a ton of picks, but he's not a bad quarterback. He can sling, so that'll be a fun game to watch. I still think we're going to kick the shit out of them, though, just me personally. But
The Raiders are my pick for the AFC West, and since I'm in Tennessee, in Nashville, my bold AFC prediction is Tennessee Titans will make the playoffs, if not win the AFC South.
whoa!
So I have faith in the Hawaii boy, Marcus Mariota. He was the darling child. Like, everyone forgot about Manti Te'o. Nobody cares that he was from Hawaii. So
I
like,
forgot
Marcus Mariota. So that was, yeah.
Let's
my
get
bold
Mr.
prediction
Smith
there.
set up on Facebook, and let's call it a show. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. You can check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, here on YouTube, or, like I said last week, wherever you're listening to it right now, that seems to be a good place to listen to us. Go there. You can check out more of my work on thevikingage.com. I've also got undeadwalking.com, which is great for the Walking Dead news and things like that. We've got Mr. Smith with his YouTube channel going on over there. He'll give you the address.
It's youtube.com/C as in Charlie /Cowsmith, KOWSMIFF. I play guitar outside of work and doing this, and I sing as well, so if you want to go over there and make fun of me, you go right ahead. I like it. I love the interaction, so go check it out.
And I don't know if you have anything you want to promote.
Sarcastic tweets, bad puns, and
Where can they find you
unpopular
on
political
Twitter?
commentary at Tommy the Gun. And I'm hoping to get my music channel back up and going on YouTube. So
There you go. When you do, send it on over to us. We'll share that puppy.
Yeah.
On that
Thanks for
note,
being on the
thanks
show,
again
man.
for listening. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.